again. We know this is what we're meant to do. So we wake up, put our feet on the floor, go and conquer the day like a warrior, like warriors. Cause that's what a tribe does. We got your back so you can relax and focus on all the important stuff, like getting your business done. This is our tribe. We look out for each other. That's right, that's right. This is our tribe. We help each other grow in business and life. That's right, that's right. No need to panic anymore. We got lots of support and an army of warriors by our side. We fight the good fight when we unite. We fight the good fight when we unite. Cause that's what a tribe does. We got your back so you can relax and focus on all the important stuff, like getting your business done. This is our tribe. We look out for each other. That's right, that's right. This is our tribe. We help each other grow in business and life. That's right, that's right.
Good morning, good afternoon, hello, wherever you are in the world. My name is Sondra Ray, and I am the host of the Coffee Shop Show. And we have been talking about marketing the last couple of shows, so always go back and watch and get caught up. Today, we are going to come from the perspective of e-commerce. So e-commerce is definitely different, way different than service-based, where Peter and I come more from the service-based perspective. So we wanted to bring somebody from our amazing ProTech tribe that has experience in e-commerce and service-based, but he's our go-to for e-commerce among many other things. But I would love to introduce Gareth. Gareth is part of our ProTech tribe. And he helps all of us in the tribe with many things in marketing, tech, and a whole handful of other things. Gareth, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm great, Sondra. Thank you for such a nice introduction.
You're welcome. So tell us a little bit. So, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, e-commerce is a whole different beast to service-based. Just when it comes to being in the online space, the things that you focus on are very different. When it comes to digital marketing, the way that you service people are through an object rather than through yourself. So you really need to, a good way to look at it is how do you make that product just as valuable as what you would give a service to a client, right? So the place that you'd start is obviously what platform you'd want to be on for e-commerce. There's a lot of really good platforms out there. The most notable being Shopify, WooCommerce, and Wix. I would say there's different reasons to use all. All of them are very good at what they do. But there's definitely use cases that you'd want to decide which one you'd want to use. So to go a little bit into that a little bit more is Shopify is really about scalability, right? So when you're looking to scale your business in the long term, you choose Shopify. This is really good for people that have a lot of products and are looking to mass sell those products. Then Shopify would be a choice. Reasons you'd go for WooCommerce are very different. That's if you are, let's say, a service/product-based business, then you want to go to WooCommerce because it's a lot better at content marketing. So you have a lot more control of your website and you can build your SEO a lot better. It costs less than Shopify also to run. But really good if you're running a blog alongside your products. Let's say you only have one or two products and you really have a story to tell, then I'd go for WooCommerce over Shopify. And then for a lot of entrepreneurs starting out, they choose Wix. which is more of a platform that is easy to set up and easy to maintain, but it's really bad at scalability and SEO. So those are more for people that don't have the time or money to invest into Shopify or WooCommerce, and so they'd start on Wix. But overall, I'd say it's worth it from the beginning to use the platform for where you're going, not where you're at now. So if you want to build a company that's going to scale later, you would start on Shopify, rather than Wix. But if you know that it's just a small side project, you're going to be selling, let's say, your handmade soaps, for example, then a Wix shop is perfectly fine, because you're not going to get you're not trying to get to the volume of, let's say, global shipping, right? So yeah, making that first decision on which platform to use is definitely super important, and should do your research on that. Make sure that you're investing into the right platforms, that later on you're not upset about having to rebuild your entire website, which happens a lot of the time. Yes. So yeah, WooCommerce, I would say those are the top three. There's a lot of others that do the same, but in terms of scale, in terms of support, those three are the most common and most supported in the industry. And it kind of sets a standard that you'll be able to find a lot of your own resources online to help you get started with those different platforms. Yeah. So in terms of where to start, that's where I'd say where to start. Yeah, e-commerce. Do you have any specific questions about that, Sondra? Yeah, Peter.
I know, like you said, pick a platform. So if you pick those platforms versus, I don't know, going on Amazon or Etsy, or I don't know, what is that one for crafting, To-Do or Taboo or like, there's all these more specialty, well, minus Amazon because it's not really a specialty, shops. Is it really just based on where you think your client is, or is it based on your product, or both?
So with Etsy specifically, it depends on the product. Etsy is more of it's supposed to be more of a handcrafted platform. It's for people that are, let's say, making the things in their own home and trying to sell them. It's supposed to be for art and those kind of things, but you do see a bit more normal listings on there nowadays. But I'd say that's a bit more of a specialized platform that really works for like handmade crochet teddy bears, for example, right? You wouldn't find your shampoo and conditioner on Etsy. So that's definitely product specific. And then with Amazon, really anything. I think that almost any platform or any product can work on Amazon. That really depends on what kind of investment you can have, because those platforms, while they're great, they do take quite a bit of a chunk of the profits that you get, because they already have these giant audiences that go and visit them every single day, which makes your life as a marketer a lot easier, but it makes the cost to clients a lot higher, right? So that really, it's a bit more difficult to manage than what, let's say, the online space makes it seem. It's not as easy as just listing your product. There's a lot of technical stuff in the background that gets into it. So if you have the money to invest, I'd say that going on to Amazon, or let's say these pre-built marketplaces, is a really good way to go. But it's definitely a fallacy, let's say, that it's cheaper than building your own website. I'd say building your own space is a lot more affordable, and in the long run is more affordable than setting up a Amazon or Etsy marketplace or any of those pre-built marketplaces.
Okay. Yeah. And like you said, a lot of people make it sound so simple. I'll get you listed on Amazon and 5 steps. And I'm like, yeah, but what cost? And even I've been looking at payment processors, and just even that part of that. That's just selling services, not products, and of course that factors into your products. So for sure. Peter, come on in.
I love the topic. I just want to approach it slightly differently. As an entrepreneur that likes to rely on the skills of others, and Gareth, you'll know this. We've done some work together before. When you take your average entrepreneur and you take the skill set required to function in the e-commerce space. Now, we all know that entrepreneurs step into new spaces, and as we step into new spaces, we have to learn new things. and we have to become acquainted with those spaces and their functionality and how they work in order to actually do what it is that it's required to do. But more often than not, the skill set required actually requires somebody that's extremely skilled in those spaces already. It's not like you can just go, okay, I'm just going to list my product in this particular space. It's really not that simple. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs learn the hard way and they maybe try to do it themselves, or it becomes a step by step. I've learned the next thing. Now I need to learn more, and then now I need to learn more, and then it becomes either overwhelming or it becomes way too much work. You can handle it, you can do it. It's way too much work. It requires way too much knowledge. And you're going to get different types of entrepreneurs. Those entrepreneurs that are going to attack it head on and learn what they need to learn and do what they need to do. And then you're going to get the entrepreneurs that are like, that's just way too much. But it's not going to stop me from getting my product into those spaces. So doing it yourself versus actually having somebody that knows what they're doing do it for you. I think that would be the question for me, because I've been in spaces that we tried to do it ourselves, and I've been in spaces where I've had other people do it for me. And my experience of the second choice was way better.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what do you guys think? I mean, especially in the e-commerce space, right? And an entrepreneur is great at creating a product or creating a service, but the moment it comes time to actually either marketing it or putting it in the right space for it to sell, or that's where I think really specialized skills would be highly necessary.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd say if you're doing it as a hobby, right? Let's say it's a side project, or not a side project, but let's say it's not your main job and you're doing it as a hobby, you just have one or two products you're trying to sell. Then there's a lot of platforms that make that very easy for you, and you can probably get by doing it yourself. But as soon as you're trying to start a scaling business, right? It's a business where you're going to rely on that income. You want it to grow. You want to be selling more than, let's say, 100 products a month. Then I think that it's way more worth it to just get a team in to establish the store for you. Just the establishment phase. That reduces so much of the learning curve that you're going to have to go through. And also it makes sure that it's set up correctly the first time, because 90% of the problems I get with companies that I help is that they try to figure it out themselves, and then they set it up in ways that make their own life harder in the future, right? Whether that's not registering their brand on Amazon, right? Or they set up a Shopify store and it's just, they throw in some custom code that really just doesn't work with the rest of the platform. There's so many different scenarios where people try and figure it out themselves, and the amount of blood, sweat, and tears that they put into it is not worth it, because you could just have someone come establish it in a few days, right? And that's a lot more helpful. And then they can also train you on how to then maintain that platform in the long run. So a lot more cost efficient and time efficient to get a team in for you, for sure.
And I think that's the part that people are like, oh, I don't have that money to invest in that. But what especially people that are new to e-commerce don't understand is that in the long run, like you said, you're going to have to go back and fix it. And I have watched personally, like we've been in
Yes.
in business, or we've worked together in brands and stuff, and just the fixing part takes 3 times longer than if they had just started it right. Like, so the time, effort, and money you're going to invest down the road to fix it right when you want to scale, or you just maybe it didn't work and you have to basically start over, but you've already done all this, is crazy. And I didn't learn that until last year, because honestly, I didn't have a lot of experience with e-commerce. And so I had my first full-on e-commerce client. And I remember going, oh, Gareth, you gotta come help. Like, I know nothing about e-commerce, period. But to look at and all the different platforms and nuances, and the client had thrown pretty much the spaghetti at the wall, so they went in 50 directions at the same time. And then it was like, no systems in place to track any. There's just so many things, not just even tech and the platform wise, but if you're going to sell, and again, we talk about this on the show, that start one, don't do 20 at the same time, because that is one of the things people do try to do. And I think e-commerce is not any different than service-based. You don't need to be on all the platforms. You need to pick a platform. Like you said, get it established, get training on it. And I know, Gareth, you're really good at that. You want the person to be able to run it. It's not you want them to run it only because you know how to run it, like type thing. And that is one of the things I do like about you, because not everybody's like that. Marketing and tech people are just like, I'll do it for you, and then I've seen it happen. I've had some bad dealings with that before, where it's like, okay, we set it up for you, but now you got to pay us a maintenance cost to keep it going, and the maintenance cost was just as much as established cost, and they're just like, why would I pay maintenance? I'm not making any money yet. Like, I just started the platform. And I like people like you that teach, like, here, I've set it up. Now you can run it. You're still there. Like, and I know this
Yeah.
wholeheartedly. You will still come and answer questions, or come on and teach or whatever. But I do the same thing, even like with goal setting and all that stuff. I want to teach them how to set goals. I don't want to always do it for them. I want them to learn that skill. If they don't want to learn that skill and they want to pay me to do that, that's fine. But I want to give them that option. So I think I definitely like that about you, is that you don't want somebody just to hire you. Like, yes, you could do the all-in-one and you do it forever and ever for them, but that's not usually your goal. Your goal is to teach that. And not everybody does that, especially not tech people. Less tech people. My husband's a tech person, so I have a dearing heart for that. But not everybody's a teacher. A lot of people are like, I'm in it for the money and I want to do it. I'm only going to do it, and I'm going to write these codes that you will never figure out how to do ever again.
Yeah.
Been there, done that, and it's just such a headache as a business owner that. So all that to say is, when you're doing that investment up front for the setup, make sure it's somebody that's going to teach you the upkeep, is what I'm trying to say. And don't rely on the platform to upkeep it for you, because tech is tech and platforms are platforms. They make changes. They might change. Shoot, they might get bought out by a different company. Like, you relying on the platform to do it is not always reliable either. And we've seen that. We've seen companies come and go. So knowing how to do it, the basics, and again, but have that, like we say, resource. Have that resource and be like, hey, I don't understand this, or hey, this worked this way when we started and it doesn't work that way anymore. Come help me. So again, resources, know your resources, and review your platforms, every 3 to 6 months, so that you know the enhancements. I know even with the main one that most of us work with now, she sends out literally weekly reports on all the enhancements weekly. Do I read them all? No, but are they there? Yes. I know they're there. It's a resource. That is one of the reasons I love using her platform, or going through her, because I do know different people that sell that platform, and they do not give that resource. But that's part of her package. She gives you that weekly resource. And then I also know that if you go to her, I'll be like, does this do this? She goes, no, but let me look up and see when they think they're going to implement it. No, that's a classy move in my world. Like, she'll be like, hey, I can go see if that's on the docket to be implemented. And she'll tell you, like, oh yeah, in 3 months they think they're going to roll that out or whatever. So all that to say is that if you're going to hire a tech person, do your research on them. Are they helpful at the start? Are they helpful afterwards? Are they going to be there as your go-to resource, or is it a one and done? And maybe it's a one and done because it's cheaper, but is it really? Because again, time is money, money is time. So having that resource in your pocket down the road to troubleshoot or anything, again, is in my mind priceless, because I've been in it now for a little over a year and a half, and yeah, I'd be in some serious trouble, and have got myself in a corner a couple of times and been like, Gareth, come over and help me. And super grateful for having him as a resource. Peter, come on in.
Just something I thought I'd like to mention. Too expensive is not always the best, and too cheap is not always a deal. It's all those unspoken things in between. all those little bits and pieces in between that people don't investigate because it's such a good deal, or it's so expensive, it's got to be right. And I think that boils down to the individual that you're dealing with. So, like Sondra said, do your homework. If you've got somebody coming in to do it for you, then do your homework on what does that mean. Do they just build it and run, or do they build it in such a way that nobody else can function it except them? Or are they building it in such a way and through the process, including you in the process in such a way that by the time it's built, you know what's required of you and you know what needs to be done. And these are things that we've experienced in the past. From when we first started out, we couldn't afford to bring somebody in to build something. It was just, you just figure it out and you try and do it yourself, which leads you to having learned that lesson of building it yourself. It's not always what it's cut out to be. And then you learn to rely on the skills of others. But if you are going to rely on the skills of others, definitely do your homework. Find other people that they've done work with before. Set up a coffee chat. How was it for you? Are they still available to you if you need something, or if something breaks or goes down? Are they available to help you out? Or every time you pick up the phone, they're charging you. Because you get spaces like that. Oh, we built it, it broke. You called us. Here's another bill. And we've had those dealings before. And the lesson that we learned was find the right people. Find the people that are going to build it right, include you in the process. You're not meant to be kept in the dark. You're meant to be learning in the process. So, in regards to e-commerce, I am not an expert in e-commerce. And if I had to step into the e-commerce space, I definitely would not be doing it myself. But at the same time, I want to know how it works, how it's getting built, why it's getting built that way, what do I need to do to maintain it? What do I need to do if something comes along that I can't fix? Who do I contact? How do I contact them? Am I building a relationship with the person that's doing the job for me, or do they just disappear? And I think those are all things that general entrepreneurs really battle with. I'm paying to get it done, but it's not really getting done right, or the result is not exactly what I bought. I bought this, but that's not what I got. So I think they find somebody with clarity, somebody that's going to explain to you exactly what you need, why you need it, why it's being done that way, the best course of action to take in the future. Those are the kinds of people that you actually want in your corner. So even though I'm not speaking on e-commerce itself, the process in finding somebody that may do it for you, there are certain things to look out for, and that's important.
Yeah, to kind of round up the whole idea is, I'd say that a really, really good questions you can ask is what the onboarding and offboarding process is, right, for the service, because then you understand without having to ask them directly, because a lot of the time you're going to find they try and keep their secrets at their chest, they don't want to tell their secrets, but that's a really reasonable question that will allow you to understand the amount of information you're going to have access to, and how much of that information are you going to be able to maintain yourself, right? You can ask them for a list of, like Peter said, is give me a full list of all the things I need to do to maintain this in the future, right? And if they're not willing to do that, then it's probably not a company that is going to treat you very well in the long term. So if you're asking very reasonable questions and they're not willing to answer, then it's probably a giveaway that they're going to try and not trick you, but get you into a system where you're kind of dependent on them. And that's not always a bad thing. In a lot of cases, especially for larger e-commerce brands, not necessarily, let's say you're a millionaire or anything, just you have a lot to maintain, like let's say 20 products, it is more affordable to have someone on managing that for you. But there's no reason why you can't also know what's going on in the background, right? Especially if you're paying for it, it's your products, it's your brand. And there's no reason why they should be hiding the processes that they're using. So those are good questions you can ask just to make sure that you can trust them in the long term, which also brings us to, it works the same for your actual products. Is just like your products online need to be trustworthy in order to be purchased. Those people that you're trying to help to get to build your store essentially should also be trustworthy. It's the same as if you're going to go build a shop right out of brick and mortar location. You wouldn't necessarily build that with your own hands, but you'd want an itemized bill on how it was built, right? Where did your money go? And yes, sometimes it's not going to go to plan. There is going to be, differences in the quotation versus the bill. These things happen in the digital space and in the real world. But again, it's definitely worth it to have a professional build that store. And then you use it, or you even hire someone else to manage it. It doesn't even have to be the same people.
Right.
A lot of the time, the people that build it are not necessarily the best people to manage it in the long term. So it's good to know.
Yeah, I like that, Gareth. So we've been talking about marketing. So as far as e-commerce, and so we talked about the platforms that are going to be you can be on, and getting the tech people. But as far as marketing e-commerce, give us some tips on that. Is it, get the reviews, get the ads, plaster it all over social media, billboards?
Yeah.
What are some tips for you? Because I know you do marketing too, besides just tech. So what are some good tips for marketing e-commerce? Again, like you said, there's specialty platform. I mean, there's all these avenues, just like service-based. There's a gazillion million avenues. And
Okay,
what are
cool.
some ideas?
Yeah, so let's say that you have your platform set up, you now have your products, and very importantly, those set up correctly, SEO in the background, etc., right? You now have it set up, and now you need to actually get people into the store to purchase. First things first is you have to create a funnel. That's a marketing funnel. And the basics of any funnel is you have a top of funnel, a middle of funnel, and a bottom of funnel, which the top of funnel is everyone that doesn't know you, has never heard of you. That's your mass numbers, right? That's where you get your impressions on your posts on social media, let's say. It's anyone that visits your store for the first time. That's your top of funnel. They're discovering you for the first time. Then you have the middle of funnel, which is called consideration, right? So it's people that have heard of you possibly in the past, but they haven't ever purchased from you. And so you would market to them slightly differently. And then you have the bottom of funnel. Those are past buyers. They're the easiest to get to purchase again. And you would market to them differently. So these three funnels, three sections of your marketing funnel need to be established correctly. And you need to market to them separately to be super effective, right? And so middle of funnel and bottom of funnel are very similar. So I'm going to focus on top of funnel because that's where I guess a lot of entrepreneurs or new entrepreneurs would struggle, is how to actually get feet in the door, right? People on your website. And that's your top of funnel. So a really, really great place for this, especially in our current climate, let's say, of the internet, is user-generated content for e-commerce specifically. So there's a lot of platforms where you can get user-generated content for relatively cheap. User-generated content is just someone that has your product that creates a video on it promoting it. That's what it means. And so there's a few platforms that you could just Google it really, and you'll find that there's platforms where you can find almost listings of people that are willing to do this, and you send them a script almost. You can send them a product unless they have the ability to purchase it on their side, and you can reimburse them, and then they will create videos for you, and they get obviously an affiliate kickback and all that from any purchases made. But that's a very cheap way to get UGC done. Or obviously you can create it yourself, which is a really good, if you have the skills, it's a really good thing to do. Obviously, if you do it yourself, it's a lot more trustworthy. It's just difficult to find models, things like that, because really the goal of the UGC is to have other people say good things about your product, not necessarily you saying good things about your product. So yeah, just got quite a bit of a learning curve there, but that's the best way to do it in terms of top of funnel. It gets so many impressions. You throw that on TikTok, you throw it on YouTube Shorts. YouTube not so much, but YouTube Shorts definitely. If you're looking for quantity, which is what the top of the funnel is for, is quantity over quality, let's say. And yeah, there's some other there's a lot of cool places like, let's say, Pearl Diver, which can get you very large audiences very, very quickly. It's a bit expensive though, like $3,000. So it's a bit expensive, but if you can do that, then you should. But if you're starting out, I definitely say UGC is the right place to start. Just have pay people a small amount of money to say cool things about your product. Obviously, it needs to be true. You don't want to be lying to people. So they should be saying things that are very real, because you don't want a situation where that then backfires because what the people are saying doesn't actually match the person's experience. Because then your first flood of reviews, let's say it performs really well, your first flood of reviews are going to be negative. People are not going to enjoy the product, and it's just going to bomb your entire brand. So obviously, be real, be truthful in the things that you're telling these people to say. It's completely normal in the industry for this to happen. You see it everywhere. Paid promotions, definitely the most cost-effective way to get your brand out there. It just, nothing else competes. You can create your own content for days and days, a video a day, every single day for a year, and it won't compete to a week of a decently sized budget in ads. Yeah.
Definitely. And I've actually done product reviews. I've done that off and on, actually since starting my entrepreneurship. And yeah, I've had people find me on different platforms when I was first starting out as a virtual assistant. And yeah, usually there's a little bit of a kickback, and yeah, you get a free product, and so on and so forth. And I was very particular about what products I reviewed. I don't review a product just to review a product. It had to be something I was going to use. Like, I don't need a whole bunch of stuff I'm not going to use. So I know I was very particular about that, and then writing honest reviews. And then again, working in the e-commerce space, that was something that we'd ask people for is, hey, thanks for buying our product. Will you please give us a review? Reviews speak volumes in service and in products. Honestly, let's be honest about that. Yeah, and again, I know definitely you can pay for reviews. I do know some platforms will ask you though if you're getting paid to do a review. I know Amazon can get very particular about like, were you paid to do the review? So kind of gotta watch where your products are and where you're putting your reviews at, for sure. Peter, come on in.
Yeah, I think the concept is much the same. I mean, in my space, my product would be, well, one of my products would be my membership to my networking platform. And one of the things that I've found is that I can find it very easy to sell something to somebody if I'm meeting them online. We're jumping into a meeting, want to know what my space is about, and I can make it sound like the streets are made of gold, and you're going to have the best time here, and it's well worth the money, and you get this if you purchase now. And you always get those spaces that convince you to buy something. But I think a recommendation from somebody else that's speaking about your space, if it's coming from a genuine place, speaks volumes about your space if you're not doing it yourself. Because let's all be honest, when we create products, we all think that they're the best things on the face of the you build something, it becomes your baby, and then you're trying to sell it to somebody, and maybe it's something they don't need, and they're like, that's a load of rubbish, and then you get highly offended, and then so I think other people speaking about your space or your product, or even speaking about the experience that person might have if they purchase your product or get involved in that space, it just speaks volumes. I had a meeting today where somebody was like, I would like to buy your membership. And my response was, no. You already have a meeting set up with Mr. Levy. You already have a meeting set up with Susan. Hear what they have to say and what their experience is about the culture of the space. And then based on that, decide if it's a space for you. And then we'll see, whether or not. So once again, other people speaking about your product is great.
Yeah.
And the reality is that people can smell bullshit from a mile away. So if you're being dishonest or paying people to say things that aren't true, be ready for your product to stumble and fall.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're paying for someone to not write a review, but to, let's say, create a video on your product, it really a good strategy is have them use a script that's an honest review, right? Tell them, give an honest review of this product. You don't have to use it if they, let's say, just not a good content creator, they have nothing nice to say. You don't have to use it. But if it's a good product, naturally they are going to have nice things to say about it. And then it's coming from their first opinion of it, not from what you're telling them to say. You can give them pointers. I think really good pointers is focus on benefits rather than features in not just product, but service as well. Always, when you're promoting a product, focus on benefits rather than features, because people care about what it does for them, not how it does for them. The feature proves that the benefit is real. It's just, anyway, important to note. But yeah, having I wouldn't say pay people for reviews specifically, but pay people to review it, right? Honestly.
Right.
Because it's very difficult to get those first 10 reviews on a product. Very, very hard. But once they start coming in, then they naturally continue. People want to be part of that conversation. They want to add their comments on what they thought about the product, especially if it's a really, really good product or if it's a really, really bad product. When it's kind of just mid, this product does what it says it does, then maybe you'll struggle with reviews. But yeah, there's obviously strategies around that too. But yeah, I'd say that user-generated content and paid ads is by far the best way to go about promoting a product.
Two good points that you brought up, or both you brought up. One is ask for the reviews. I mean, there's nothing wrong to ask for the reviews, and ask multiple times, because people get busy. You know, they buy the product, maybe they don't try your product for a week or two, and then you'll be like, hey, did you get a chance to try it? Especially like you said, when you're first starting and you're first getting those couple of ones, you know, you're gonna have to probably try harder to get the reviews versus like, oh, leave a review and then da, da, da. The second part of that, the second thing I wanted to say was customer service. Just because you're selling a product does not mean you do not need customer service. Customer service starts from the minute they land on your page to buy a product, till they receive your product, till they use your product, all the way through it. So the customer journey and customer service is just as important, because even my husband's huge on reviews, so he will read reviews left and right. And one of the things that it'll be is like if they say, oh, something was broken when it came, and people are like, you can't get a hold of anybody to replace it or whatever, it doesn't matter if they have 5,000 reviews and they're 5 stars. If those 2 stars are saying that there's no customer service, he'll walk away. I mean, he'll go buy it somewhere else, because customer service matters to him, because things happen out of your control, even especially as an e-commerce, and you're shipping things and stuff. You can't, unless you physically take it there yourself, you're at the mercy of whoever delivers your product, and the packaging and all that stuff. So having good customer service and saying, hey, that is not our intent for it to be broken or it doesn't work or whatever, and making it right, so that when people write reviews, they can be like, hey, yeah, it happened. And I always tell my husband, things break. Like it's inevitable. Some people don't deliver nicely. Everything in between. So I always say you can't base it on it. It's based on how did they fix the problem that arose when they brought the product, or something went wrong, or something went right. Maybe I had a friend who put hand notes in all her shipping out of her. It was like she did like 50 or 100 in her first launch, and she wrote a note to every single person. But it was that personalized touch when she sold her shirts for her brand, and everybody commented on that. They're like, it was not no stamped. It was a personal rant. No, it wasn't. It was 2 sentences or whatever. It wasn't anything detailed, but she took the time to write those notes to people. So people care about those personalized, and you're not just purchase. So definitely customer service, I think, is extremely important from, like I said, the time they see your product, wherever they see it at, to the time they have it and use it, is extremely important, because that's why, Amazon has that How was customer service? How was the product? How was all this? But how was the customer service? And that's service-based too, customer service, customer journey for sure. For sure, to make sure that those things go right so that people aren't like, oh yeah, well they bought it, but then I didn't see it. They took my money and they ran. You know, you don't want to be that e-commerce person for sure. Awesome. Awesome. All right, Mr. Peter, come on in, and then we're going to start wrapping up. 45 minutes always flies by.
Okay, well, I just wanted to add to that piece of the conversation. I mean, you could always create a space that's going to sell a product to a person once, if that's what you're looking to build. You're going to sell one product, you're going to sell it to them once, and there is